Guys, do y'all remember when you watched Stranger Things for the first time ever? I know it's actually been a while, like a decade, since the first season graced our screens, but I still remember that feeling I got. Like I was in for one hell of a ride. It was creepy and mysterious and also had a lovable group of friends, bikes, and that 80s magic, but it also filled you with dread. It was damn near perfect. And the thing that really captured audiences, including myself, was that we hadn't seen anything quite like it. So you best believe when we heard Stranger Things would be returning to our screens after that, divisive ending, we had some high expectations, especially considering Stranger Things Tales from '85 was set to be an animated adventure. How cool did that sound, right? But reality was far from it. And I'm honestly saying this with such a heavy heart, man, because this was supposed to bring back our love for Hawkins. I mean, we literally grew up with these characters and in this world. I was in school when this started, and now I'm literally working. So to hear the reviews and see the final result has been tough, to say the least. And I know it's like a wave of mixed reviews and fan backlash out there, and that's very discouraging for any of you guys who wanted to watch the show. So I'm here to break it down for you, and trust me, I'll give it to you straight. I'll tell you exactly what went wrong, why fans are divided, and what they did actually get right. Yeah guys, there is a silver lining. It's not all bad. So let's get started. So what is Tales from '85 actually supposed to be? Now before we get into the drama, let's talk a little about the basics. Stranger Things Tales from '85 is basically an animated series produced with Flying Bark Productions, who are the same folks who worked on stuff like Marvel's What If and Monkey Kid. And hey, I did really enjoy What If. The series is set in the winter of 1985, and if you're a proper Stranger Things fan, you'll know exactly the context. In the timeline, this is when the kids had just had the snowball at the end of 1984, and it was all normal and joyous for a change. Will was finally free from the Mind Flayer's influence, and Eleven was officially Jane Hopper now. These kids deserved a break. Jeez. And she even slow danced with Mike and had her first kiss, while Dustin and Nancy danced, and while the Police's Every Breath You Take played. God, I can still picture it. So the show takes place right after this, covering everything that happened that winter when the Hawkins Investigators Club dealt with smaller paranormal threats, instead of, the typical world-ending disasters. And interestingly, the show takes on a completely new format with a Monster of the Week style adventure vibe, like the Saturday morning cartoons many of us grew up with. Think Scooby-Doo or The Real Ghostbusters. I will say there's somewhat of an overarching plot point involving the upside-down plant creatures. I won't give away too much, but it still doesn't feel like one big narrative. Also, there's a tonal shift. This show is much lighter and more colorful, and it's probably because they wanted it to be for all audiences, especially younger ones. Now, while it does stay quite familiar with the characters and setting, it introduces a brand new face called Nikki Baxter, and of course, she has a mohawk. Another major change was that the original actors are too old now. Millie Bobby Brown is literally 22, so obviously they can't sound like 12-year-olds. And that means we have a completely new voice cast, with Brooklyn Davy Norstedt as Eleven, and Jeremy Jordan taking over the iconic role of Steve Harrington. Now, all this sounds pretty good on paper, right? It keeps the franchise alive, allows space for experimentation, and has the obvious nostalgia factor going for it. So why the hell is it getting such mixed reactions? Why fans are divided. Now this is when we get to the real talk. My biggest problem with this is that it just feels lazy. And before you guys shred me to bits in the comments, just hear me out. It just feels like Netflix has taken a familiar IP and is using our love for the characters to give us something that doesn't feel necessary or even logical. Like, how did they experience insane monster attacks in the winter of '85 and then just not mention even a word of it in season 3? Like, not one mention, reference, or even inside joke. Come on now, explain that to me. And that's what I mean by lazy. Fans have been pointing out that it just feels like an unnecessary spin-off, and I couldn't agree more. It doesn't add enough new depth, which is the whole point of spin-offs. Another issue I see is the target audience. It's pretty clear that the show is trying to bring in a younger generation, but the problem is that the plot relies heavily on you having seen the first 2 seasons of the original show. If you don't know who the Mind Flayer is, or why Eleven is hiding in a cabin, the show makes less sense. And then on the flip side, if you're an adult, the tone just doesn't feel right, especially after you've seen the original show. Even during its lighter moments, there was always a feeling of danger looming, which is what made it so addictive and great. There's also low stakes because we know the future, and we know all of them will be okay and they'll survive. And that takes away the tension that makes the Stranger Things brand of horror.
Nobody asks. They choose. You chose.
The lore and continuity problem. Now, this one really stung. There's a massive continuity issue, and the lore does not always feel as tightly connected as fans would want. Firstly, it just doesn't engage deeply with the rich, almost mythological lore of the Upside Down. And then it goes ahead and introduces these things that make you feel like it's a whole new universe. They fight these local, small-scale monsters while talking about snow sharks and jerk-o'-lanterns. It all just feels silly. Then you have this new professor. I won't spoil much, but her obsession with evolution takes away from the cosmic psychic horror that had such a hold on me for decades. And then you've got Nikki Baxter, who's a genius at fixing things and has these almost superhero gadgets, but somehow was never mentioned after that. This is the kind of thing that makes hardcore fans pause and go, okay, but where was she later? I also don't remember Joyce being a major presence in the spinoff, which feels so weird considering how important she is to the emotional core of Stranger Things. And then there's also something that happens in the ending. No spoilers, but that wasn't mentioned either. Like, it was a big friggin' deal, okay? The emotional disconnect. I also felt an emotional disconnect with the characters that I loved so much. And it's because there aren't any of those big, emotionally impactful moments that the OG show did so well. Like, a part of me would have died if they died. But here, they were just kind of meh. I blame the tone, but also the timing. The finale wasn't the best, and many of us didn't feel like we got the closure we were hoping for. And then, just a few months later, Netflix drops this and acts as if it's all good. Not gonna lie, I low-key vowed to not watch it. Where it isn't terrible, the silver lining. Okay, now I know I've been a little too harsh, but it's only because I care. However, it does have some things going for it. A lot of fans love the animation style and the old school vibe, though it was far from perfect at times. I also like the monster designs a lot, so creds to Carlos Huante. Remember the new voice actors that weren't all too welcomed at first? Well, they actually did a really good job, especially for Dustin and Max. The show does have a comfort food feel to it, which can be nice if you manage to turn your brain off. It's nice to go back to the good old days when kids just got to be kids. For at least one winter. That's the biggest redeeming quality of the show. Also, the soundtrack by Brad Breek is actually awesome, I will say that. It's an easy to watch show that can even be fun. It just doesn't live up to the expectations we had after watching the original show. And honestly, that's the biggest problem. It's not unwatchable, it just doesn't match up. And interestingly, despite the mixed reviews and criticisms, Netflix has already renewed the show for a second season, because no matter what we say, the show did hit number 7 on Netflix's top 10, and that kind of performance likely helped its renewal. I'm hoping that the writers will take some of the audience feedback seriously and work on making season 2 better. But for now, season 1 just doesn't sit right with me. So, should you watch Stranger Things Tales from 85? If you're a hardcore fan who cares about lore and consistency and everything, you'll probably yell at the screen, maybe even throw stuff at it. But if you just miss Hawkins and want to spend 30 minutes after tiring days of work to sit back, relax, and watch Mike and Eleven go on fun adventures again, give it a shot. And if you have already watched it, let us know what you think in the comments down below. Did you guys like the new voice actors, or are we missing the OGs a little too much? And as always, smash the like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more details on the upcoming Season 2. We'll see you soon. Bye!